we looked in southern Vermont with a very patient real estate man in Brattleboro. And after 2 or 3 days of driving around towns in the Newfane and that whole country, we went to say goodbye to him in his office and thank him for his patience and courtesy, and well, we think about certain places. And as we were sitting there, across the desk from him, his phone rang, and he excused himself and said, well, I'll be a few minutes, but I must take this call. And here are some photographs of a place you might like to see. And he put down pictures of Dingleton. Well, of course, it showed the garden and the view. It was very appealing. And when Mr. White had finished his phone call, he said, well, don't you want to go and see it? And I must say, this is nothing I would consider buying as much too elaborate and not really what we're looking for at all. And he said, well, it's a beautiful day, and I haven't seen it this year. I had it last year to show, but I'd like to go up and see how it looks this year, and if you'll stay over a day, why, I'll drive you up. So we did. And the garden, I think this was probably in May or early June, and the garden was just coming into its height, and it was lovely. And again, my mother said, well, that's much too elaborate. And he said, well, if people are very anxious to sell it, they have to keep a caretaker there, and the upkeep and expense, and so make an offer. So my mother made a very modest offer, and they declined it. We went off to Maine. She said she took a long sigh of relief. Thought she was away from this problem. And but the summer wore on, and she got letters, and finally I think a phone call that the people were desperate. It was August, and I don't know whether anyone had looked at the place, and they'll make another offer, and take into consideration that it needs painting and some plumbing.
Another renovation.
Renovations, and deduct that from your original price. And Mother said, well, I'm embarrassed to do that, and he said, no, go ahead, and she did, and very much to her trepidation, they accepted it.
Yeah. But you got your pasture.
I got my pasture, and a very good stable, and she, as I say, we had been looking for a farm with a nice little barn. This is what we ended up with.
It's not unlike the times now, in a way.
Very much.
Yeah, where people could get a good deal.
They're going to be tempted.
Yes.
So now this, again, was in 1936,
Yes.
the height of the Depression,
Right.
and the house had been on the market a couple of years, had it since...
Right. And it had been left by the slave sisters who built the house. It had been left to 2 nieces who both were probably middle-aged and had, I imagine, very nice places of their own in New Jersey, had no apparent interest or contact with Cornish, and it was their inheritance.
So were there any other artifacts or things connected to the slaves that your mother found in the house?
No, the house, of course, it had an auction, and it was completely cleaned out, aside from, I think there were 2 or 3 iron washstands, which I guess had not sold at auction.
No wonderful paintings in the attic?
No, nothing like that. In fact, and they'd stripped some lighting fixtures out of the house, which is not supposed to do, but they had. And,
did your mother make any architectural changes?
no, she really didn't. We made the architectural change of putting on this little back room. There were 2 windows where openings are now.
Yeah, oh, I see.
But otherwise,
So the solarium's the only...
is the only thing. And then we, of course, this kitchen had 7 doors in it, and still does, of course. And you can see turning it into a modern kitchen was pretty difficult. The refrigerator, there was a little ice room out here, and that was where we just put the electric refrigerator, you know, and there was a built-in coal range that took up most of the hearth there.
Coal?
Coal.
Okay.
Coal. And, well, we removed that and had an electric stove, and the sink was under that room down behind Fern. But you see, for an efficient kitchen.
Yes. Or you'd have to have help or something. Right.
And as the years have gone on, we finally, this was after my mother died, we decided we had to do something about the kitchen. You no longer got any help. And so when they came to look it over, oh, and the room that is now the kitchen is a laundry, which was really lovely because it was right off the kitchen. Big porcelain set tubs, and I really hated to give up, but this is very practical.
Now, when they built the house, speaking of wood, there's that famous newel post. Now, what is that made out of?
Oak.
So that's oak, and that was
Quartered oak.
and used wood from here. Do you know, or did they?
No, I don't
You
know.
don't know.
I imagine not, because I presume she carved it in New York, probably.
Okay, yeah,
Where
they
she
shipped
lived
it up.
in the winter.
And is the paneling the same
Yes.
out there? That's oak.
That's oak, quartered oak, which is the toughest stuff you can chisel, I guess.
Yeah, well, it lasts.
Yes.
Now, you had a funny story, excuse me for interrupting, about, I believe, Maxfield Parrish visiting and leaning against a wall.
Oh,
Tell
yes,
us
well, Maxfield Parrish told me the story himself. So, he had come with his father, Stephen Parrish, to dinner with the slaves. He said it was a very formal dinner, and they spoke about the house and all, and the paneling in the dining room is elm, which was cut on the place, we were told.
It was carved on the place? You said?
Yes, well, the elm was cut on the place. It was milled up in Hartford. And at all events, Maxfield Parrish, as he was leaving, I guess Miss Emily Slade and his father went ahead, and then he followed, and as he was going out the door, he put his hand on the wood, and this elm is really lovely. And then he walked on, and he looked back, and this Augustus Slade had out her lace-trimmed handkerchief. It was all she was taking apart.
I love it. She took good care of the house.
Taking care of the house.
Yes.
So that was that. But the dining room and the library are paneled in elm.
Elm.
And it is a lovely wood, as you can see. And I know at the time, that was one of the things that particularly appealed to my mother, but it was a cupboard, it was actually a wood cupboard between the drawing room and the library, which had been left open by someone, and the wood had, the cupboard had warped and we couldn't close it. So Mother asked where it could be repaired, and they said, oh, you're going to take it out to Hartford, to Martin's woodworking shop. So they unscrewed the hinges, and we took it up to Martin's, I guess it's really called, and went into Mr. Martin's office, and my mother started to explain, and he said, you don't have to tell me another thing. I was a boy. He said, that came from that house on the hill up over Windsor. And my mother said, why, yes, how do you know? He said, well, I was a boy when that was being worked. And my father, I was in high school, and my job was to fire the kilns to dry that elm out so it could be worked. And it was a hot summer, and he said I did not enjoy the job, and I'd fire the kilns for weeks on end. That's for the morning and night, you know, you had to keep them going. And finally there'd come a day, and my father would say, well, I think that stuff would be
Good enough?
Good enough, and we would let the fires go out. Then we'd get a humid day, and the wood would start to twist and warp again, and I was back out. And he said, that's why people don't use it more.
And it's back. You know.
So that was interesting. And about the elm wood, which is lovely. And
Is the pool room original to the house?
yes, that was Miss Slade's studio.
Okay.
And
Well, that's interesting that it was the studio. She did her painting.
oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, and carving. Things are sort of piled in for the winter now, but you can see it if you want. So that was.
So this was a happy house.
I think so.
Yeah.
Miss Emily was the oldest, and
Augusta.
people said, well, of course, she died many years ago, but everyone seemed to like her. Miss Augusta ran the place, and it was quite an establishment because they owned the New Bowles farm, you'd see, and really ran it as a farm. They had quite a dairy barn there, which Cheston tore down many years ago, along where his swimming pool is now. And they kept team of horses, and they had ducks, and there was a little ice pond up there where they cut their own ice. And they had ducks and chickens, and I believe one large vegetable garden up there for, I suppose, potatoes and squash and things like that, and they had a small one down at the end of the lawn behind the wall there. And so they did, and the caretaker for those, they always call them foremen up here who ran the place. I mean, the working foreman lived in the farmhouse, which I imagine had been his family's house because his name was Bryant, and that was the Bryant farm. But that I really don't know. And he eventually died, and his widow carried on, and about that time Miss Augusta died. And they had, and she boarded the gardeners and people who worked on the place. And the heirs to the place kept one man who had worked in the garden on as a caretaker. And his name was Thomas Clark, and I was very proud of the fact he came from Massachusetts. And when we asked him any questions about the garden, well, more technical question, you would say, I came up from the vegetables.
So there was a hierarchy to the garden.
There was a hierarchy. He was a vegetable gardener.
Yeah.
But apparently he was willing, you see, to stay on. And so a lot of our stories came through him. And it was we lived with Miss Slade for 2 years, I think, and with Thomas Clark. And eventually, he got an automobile accident commonplace, but elsewhere in the state in Massachusetts. But,
So Thomas Clark was the head gardener?
well, he came
presumed
up in vegetables.
Where did you go to high school?
Where did I go to high
Did you go
school?
to Windsor?
No, I went to high school in Connecticut.
Oh, in Connecticut, okay. You mentioned that you were in high school at the time,
Oh,
and
yes.
I didn't know if you were going here.
Yeah.
Now, about these gardens,
Do you
were
want to
the
say?
gardens here overgrown?
Oh, no, they were
When you came?
beautiful conditions.
I know they were very important back then
Oh,
for
yes.
tea parties and such.
Yes.
Did you go to
And of course, we
any of those?
still have a number of plants that date back to then, to the earlier days. The gardens, according to Thomas Clark, were the color scheme was to be pink and white and blue. The Slade loathed red flowers. And, But I must say, she liked pretty bright pinks, what would be called Barbie now.
Did Platt design a lot of
He
these gardens?
designed the Italian garden, the pergola, and up the walk, I think, to the bird bath. There's a bird bath up there. And benches. The rose garden, which is beyond, we've been told that Miss Emily Slade designed.
Did Ellen Shipman have anything to do with this?
My only story of Ellen Shipman is that originally in the Italian garden, where there are now grass plots with perennial beds around the grass plots, but originally they've been solid flower beds. And Ellen, all this again according to Thomas Clark, Ellen Shipman suggested that they have grass in the middle and simplify things a bit. And whether she did it as a friend at tea or whether she did it officially as a garden landscaper, I don't know.
Are any of the original plants?
Oh, yes.
Do you know still? Particularly roses, I would imagine.
Well, there are only
Maybe.
2 or 3 roses. The roses in the archway are almost all original.
All original.
And there is one large rose against the library wall that is original.
Is there some of the old-fashioned varieties that you might not find today?
There
do you
are,
think?
which I brought, but not,
Oh, good.
were not original. And so, no, I always joked with my mother about her very expensive annuals and roses.
My.
So the ones you brought would have been brought, what, in the late 30s, 40s?
Oh, 50s, 60s.
50s, 60s, so still 50s, that's 50 years ago, so if they're still surviving, that's nice.
Well, if they're on their own roots,
Yeah.
they do. It's the roses that are grafted.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And,
Tell me more about that, like just a little bit.
well, of course, grafted roses are grafted quite close to the surface, and to keep roses really in this climate, you have to heap earth
Mulching
up around the mulch very
Yeah.
heavily around them. You just can't seem to get them.
So they're not as hardy
No,
as
they
if they
aren't.
have their own.
Roots.
Okay, that's interesting.
Now, they had, what, 6 or 7 full-time gardeners that would take care of these?
I'm not sure they had a number.
Yeah.
And I know one day I said something to John Dryfout about how beautiful the gardens were, and he was aspect, and he said, well, they should be. There's 7 men working.
7 gardeners?
Well, look at what Bob keeps up with beautifully, the way it is now. So
So
that's
today
great.
is Bob your main gardener?
Bob, your main guy.
No, right.
Dick Hempfield's granddaughter is.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And she
Kathy
did
is
a
her name?
lovely job.
Sarah.
Sarah.
And before that, for a number of years, and Mother at one time had Howland Atwood, who was a Vermonter, and but he'd started a little nursery up at Heartland Four Corners, and he wanted to earn a little money on the side, used to come. And then after he retired from a number of other jobs in various parts of New England, he came back to Windsor and bought a house, and which was right up above Simon Pierce there, and thought he'd like to work for a day or 2 a week, and ended up working 5 days a week, even walking when he
He might have enjoyed
was
it.
closed.
Yeah.
Well, we tried to meet him, and usually
Yeah.
did, but
Yeah.
very determined. He loved the garden, and he had gone to horticultural school in Amherst, University of Massachusetts, and had also worked, been in charge of one of the gardens out for Huntington Museum.
Well, I was going to ask you if he did any other gardens in the area.
And so that he was very expert. So over the years, it's had very good care off and on. During the war, while we didn't have anyone, I weeded it twice a year. That was it.
Well, that would take
And
6
that-
months to
well,
go around at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and of course my mother did some
Yeah.
too. But,
Keeping good custodians.
So do you recall attending garden parties at all? You didn't dress up in a frilly dress?
oh, I think I went to a garden party at Winston Churchill's.
Churchill?
And,
So I know there was great competition in gardens back
yes,
then.
yes, right.
Yeah.
Great competition.
Now, that would be Churchill's second home, not
Yes,
Huddock.
yes, the second one. Bob, of course, lives in what was the stable of Huddock.
Did you, I read somewhere that there were 7 Scottish gardeners, and we don't know that apparently here.
No, well, may have been, but
But I also read that some of the hemlock was turned into topiary, various shapes. Did
yes.
you acquire some topiary shapes
no,
with the house?
I wouldn't call it real topiary. The house that Carolyn stored,
Right.
they had real topiary. We had hemlock hedges, which were kept trimmed, of course, but nothing. Well, I think there were 2 little hemmocks out of the front gate that had been trimmed,
Pyramid.
but nothing that I would call topiary.
Frolicking animals
No,
or anything.
nothing like that. Chessmen.
Yeah.
And then how many, does Sarah work daily to maintain the gardens today? You know?
No, not really. Well, 3 or 4 times a week, 3 or 4 hours a week.
In the season.
In the season when things are really
So it's
setting
mostly
down.
weeding type thing.
Little bit, yeah.
Oh, did you want to move along to another category? Unless you had something else you could think of you wanted to add about the gardens.
To the garden? No, we spoke about the rose garden, which originally had a hemlock hedge around it. And the hemlock hedge really did go wild at the time of the war and got very scraggly. And it also made the rose garden terrifically hot. I remember my mother going up and ordering Thomas Clark out of there because she thought he was going to faint from heat exhaustion. And it also, roses are supposed to have good air circulation or they get black spot, which is an unpleasant leaf disease. And it also held the moisture in, and we have had a bunch of black spots and the hedge was removed. And so that has been changed. I think coming up to Cornish, when we first came, the thing that struck me about Cornish were the hemlock hedges that all the gardens had, and the Lombardy poplars. We had 3 on the driveway here, but they, of course, are short-lived trees. And we did have replanted ones, but we don't have any now. But all the houses would have these Lombardy poplars and hemlock hedges, and it was very distinctive to me. It was not like Connecticut
Now,
gardens.
I'm going to move on to this,
Yes.
the next section. Having moved up, I moved up in '91, and it was wonderful having a sister that would sort of introduce me to everybody.
Yes.
But when your family moved up, what was that like, coming into an established?
Well, in
Group.
those days, someone new coming in, you paid calls on them, you paid a call.
The little cards, I remember my
Little
grandmother, little
cards.
cards, leaving them on the tray.
Yes, on
Yeah.
a tray.
Yeah.
And then you returned the call, and if you, found yourself congenial, why you...
Or they found you congenial.
Well, of course, we'd come partly to, for horses, and no one in Cornish in those days had anything to do with horses.
Wow.
And weekends would be horse shows that I would go to and that sort of thing. And then, of course, we were close enough to Hartford and all that friends would come up from there. And actually, this place is rather remote from, it's remote, of course, from Cornish Flat. It's quite a way up there from here. And the places are scattered out along the...
And you were out of school at that
Yes,
point
I was out
too,
of
so
school,
that's where
yes.
that would be natural.
And there were very few young people. And I did know Creighton Church a bit, and trying to think, and then the Smythes,
Who?
the Smythe family
Smythe?
that owned Home Hill.
Okay.
And they did have horses. And
So your social life really centered around horse people?
yes, right.
So that's where you would meet people?
Yes, and so, but we did, of course, I did speak to you about Mrs. Purvis, who became a close friend of my mother's. And she lived in the stone house, so-called up on Dingleton Hill, across from the Fitches. And she'd been a very good friend of mother's in Hartford, who'd come from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay, so they knew each other before?
They knew each other that way. And she, as I think I told you on the phone, her husband was really a patron of Maxfield Parish when he was a young artist. And her house had somewhat lower ceilings than this, and she had paintings floor to ceiling size of parishes. It was quite fascinating to see them all. And I think when she moved here, she had thought she would, she was on a little put out, I think, that she didn't see more of Maxfield Parish, but they did keep in touch, and I've been to tea there when he was there and that sort of thing.
What was he like?
Well, he always reminded me of a robin. He had a very bright eye. And we would frequently meet at the post office in Windsor, because everyone on this side of Cornish, the mail went to the Windsor post office. But you see, it'd be probably, 8 miles to the flat, and 3 to Windsor. And the mail train would come in, I guess, around 11:30, and they'd sort the mail. You were there at 12, you got your mail right off the train. We had the Hartford Current every noon.
Well, I'm from West Hartford.
Yes,
so-
I realize you are. So we had the Hartford Current every day at noon, and the train service was so good. And so that...
So you didn't feel so, as a young person moving in, I mean, did you, it's a good hospital. You want a sip of coffee? Or all this talking, you're doing so well.
You've got me going.
Well, you've got a lot to get going with, it's great.
And I think I had equipment failure briefly at an important juncture, but you said you were back here around 75, 76 full-time.
Full-time. And of course, during the war, we lived here full-time. In the winter, in the little house where I live now, which we had built so that we had a place to stay. It became weekends in the winter. And because one time we drove up and there was a blizzard in the night, we couldn't even get up here.
My word. I bet.
Of course, when we first lived here, and all during the war, the town of Cornish plowed private driveways. For, you paid them, but they did it, so they had their big plows. And sometimes we asked the other day if it ever snowed in. Sometimes it would be 2 days before they get around. But
We saw old pictures of a horse pulling this big drum.
roller.
Was that what they used?
No.
You had plows,
Yeah,
like
they had
motorized
plows and
things like
trucks.
that, yeah.
And you hear, I remember they coming clanking down the middle of the night.
Big chains.
Big
and-
headlights, and they were plowing night and day. But of course, we didn't have any school children, and we didn't have any milk to go out, so we were about the last one in town.
So did you get snowbound in at any time because of mud or snow, that you couldn't get off the hill?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, oh, yes. And with the snow, as I say, the town. Well, now, of course, we have truck and plow of our own, and it's going downhill when we start out, or Bob starts out. And
Go off the corner down there.
So I remember milk being delivered and I'm only
me
67,
too.
I remember milk being delivered now.
Oh,
So
yes.
things came to you, a lot, you had your gardens.
Oh, no,
but-
the milk, you see, if you had cows and you were sending your milk to the dairy,
Right.
they would take it every day, you know, they had platforms out by the roads of their driveways.
Okay.
Out on the town road, they'd have a platform and the big milk cans would be put out there and the truck would come along every day and pick it up.
Yeah, I see in the flat the Cabot truck coming to Stone's farm all the time,
yes.
picking it up. It's a little different, but.
Yes, it's the same.
So every farm, and you had cows?
No, we didn't have cows.
Okay.
During the war, we had goats, and I milked the goats, but I said, I can't cook with cow.
Right. So milk would be delivered to you?
Well, we had our own goat's milk.
They had their
Oh, you drink goat's milk
Yes,
then?
yes, and,
Well, good.
but no, there were no deliveries of it.
No icemen come
No.
for the
No,
refrigerators?
'cause
Because
we
I can
had
remember the
we
iceman
had
coming to
it
my
in-
house
Oh,
when I was
yes.
young.
Well,
So
we were the last people in South Bristol Bay to cottage to have ice delivered, but, so I well remember that.
Did you make your, like, cheese and things too?
I don't remember, Mother really had charge of that, I don't think she ever
Yeah.
made cheese, but for ourselves and the dogs and all, and at that point we had a lot of dogs.
So you go to town, in other words?
Yes.
Yeah, you, like we do.
Right, because of course, you was having the mail every day, go and get the mail, pick up
Pick
whatever
up whatever you needed.
needed, right.
So you didn't have chickens
Oh, yes, we had
You had chickens?
Yes, because we never ate them.
No.
We had
or, as long
eggs,
as they lay, you know,
Yes.
they wouldn't want to.
and, so,
I want to get back, if I could, a little bit to some of the socializing, some of the tea parties and functions that maybe you hosted here. And how did they go? I assume they were very formal affairs.
well, I think it was more apt to be just one family at a time, so to speak, at a time. My mother was a widow, and she'd pretty much given up entertaining in Hartford. It was just let it quiet by. And yeah, so I really can't think of any grand party to tell you about.
No, and some people did do that and others didn't,
No,
you know, it's,
we've always been antisocial.
no, I mean, it's,
Okay, so-
the la-di-da stuff, well, this is a horsewoman too. I mean, she's off running around riding horses and having a good time too, so.
No, I don't think there were ever any elaborate garden parties here when you were here, were there?
No,
No,
I think the largest party we gave was
My
the
wedding.
reunion of Jay's.
were
and
you
your
married
wedding.
here?
No, but I
Oh.
wanted to be married here, and my mother said, no, it's just too complicated with all those Bulkeley relatives in Hartford.
Aha, so you were married at Hartford?
Yes, I married in St. John's Church,
Aha,
and so I wasn't, but Bob was married here, and
we had you to organize.
and then we did have a family
89.
reunion. And, so, I can't, the social end of it, I really can't tell you much about. Of course, it wasn't, well, I don't think that was a garden party, but the famous story about this Augustus Slade was having a tea, and she invited someone, I don't know who, in Cornish, and the lady, they wrote notes in those days, wrote back and said she would very much enjoy coming, but she had a house guest, and might she bring the guest? And Miss Augusta replied, yes, but I hope she will wear a gown that will match the garden.
When you mentioned the colors of the garden,
Yes.
my sister Linda took me down to
Yes.
Strawberry Banks this
Oh,
summer,
yes.
and they had a Mary Cassatt
Oh,
showing
yes.
at
Yes.
Sturbridge, or no, this was at up at Lake Champlain. I'm sorry, I'm mixing things
Oh.
up. Up at Lake Champlain, they had the Mary Cassatt here,
Oh,
and they had a garden in the front that was all the impressionistic colors. the pinks and the blues and the whites, and I'm wondering if they were thinking along those lines.
I
or was it-
don't
or
know.
it was just personal taste.
Well, those were the taste, the pastels, very
Right, the
much
pastels
so.
were the-
And not bright colors, the
No.
way some of us prefer today.
The
Not the
Monet
bright
and around
oranges
that
and
time.
reds.
Yeah.
But the blues and the whites, creams, pink, yellow, pale yellow.
And,
Very much the vogue garden-wise.
so, she did, there were a lot of delphiniums, which would have been blue in those days, and in the garden, and I regret to say the mice have eaten, over the years, have eaten roots
Rolls
of the
and
women.
mice and, yeah.
But I think we still have a few descendants. And
Hollyhocks, did you ever have hollyhocks?
I introduced hollyhocks. I loved hollyhocks, but Thomas Clark said Miss Slade never had hollyhocks.
Wow. I love his personality. He's very much personality. Because St. Gaudens has such beautiful ones, you know.
Well, that is funny because then he went over and consulted with Mrs. Reed, who at that point was running St. Gaudens. It was before they'd been given to the government and all. And she said she thought Miss Slade wouldn't mind if we had hollyhocks.
Yeah. I love it. Well, it's serious business for some people.
Gardens were back then.
Yes.
They were very serious.
This is great.
Yeah, but we had an in with Mrs. Reed because Home at St. Gordon's, I think, had 2 children. These were the grandchildren, Augustus, and a daughter and a son. And the son had been at Choate with my brother, and I believe he eventually was disowned by his father. I don't know for what reason, but anyway, Mrs. Reed.
There's a story there.
There's a story there. Mrs. Reed, because my brother had known Gus, as he was called, a friend of Gus at school. He was very cordial indeed. So that was a nice connection.
Now, you originally came from Maine? I'm off track.
No, Hartford.
Hartford, okay, because that's, yeah.
And, so,
I'm wondering about did Platt ever have anything to do with the house or gardens after the Slades? Were you involved?
Not that I know of. Mr. William Platt, Charles Platt's son, came in fairly recent times, probably 30 years ago, one day, and wanted to see the house, and of course we welcomed him in and walked all around it, smiling, and apparently approved, and that's the way it's been kept, you know. But, and then invited us to a cocktail party and so forth, and we went, but that was really my only connection.
Tell me about Percy Mackay.
I didn't know.
You didn't know him?
No, I had it with I think I had a textbook in school in which he was
Okay,
a
the
co-author
family
or
didn't
something,
really.
but
And Sue Lewin.
yes, that was,
Who's that?
Somebody's girlfriend.
was Maxfield's parish housekeeper,
Okay.
which looked very scandalous.
Yeah.
And his model for many, many years.
Yeah. She was a model for a lot of
Oh,
his.
yeah, the very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, she's middle-aged and quite plump when I knew her, but, you know.
But you didn't know of her.
Yes, we had a post office sort of.
And what about Herbert Crowley? Did he own this house for a
No,
short period
he
of time?
owned the Michael Newbold house.
Oh, the Newbold house.
And,
So your parents bought this house directly from the Slades?
Yes, directly from.
So it's only been 2?
No one in between, only been.
Nobody, just.
No, I sometimes say it's always been owned by.
Yeah, okay.
I have these questions. Oh, I had some from Jim Atkinson.
Oh, yes.
Can I go off track here?
Sure.
You're going to have
Some more
to-
queries for Grace B., he says. At the moment, I'd like to know more about her mother. Did she know anything about the colony? And I think you've answered this,
Yes.
specifically Platt or the Slade sisters before she bought the place. But I'm hearing it was more after, did she know them before she came up? No, so it was after, it was really the good price that she got roped
The
into.
only slave we ever met, many years afterwards, a very attractive 30-ish couple came to the door, and the man introduced himself and said he was a nephew of the Slade sisters. And as a little boy, he had spent the summer here, and he wondered if he could see the garden of the house. And of course, we welcomed them in, he and his wife. And he walked around and said, well, he really didn't recognize anything. He said, he said, I was quite a small boy, and my mother was quite ill. And why they sent me up to two maiden sisters, a spinster aunts, I don't know, but they did. And he said, I do remember in the kitchen a lot of copper pots hanging, but of course we didn't have any copper pots hanging, and it really was nothing that was connected in his mind at all. And I think they came from Long Island, if I remember, but that was the only.
And then what else does he say here? How much of an onus was taking care of the flat garden and the slate carving? Did your mom have to polish it up or take, no, just an oak thing, it's fine. And Bob, he wants to know, you being an artist, any memories that you have or thoughts about the house or the privilege of being here or what it was like to live here? It was just your home, right?
Yeah.
Nothing special because it was your
Really
house.
think about, yeah.
Right, which is a good thing. You know, it's your home. Right.
Well, I have discovered, folks, that at some point, perhaps early on,
Oh dear.
the plug fell out of the oven. So it's always good to have a backup. And that failed on me at one point. But perhaps a double backup is a better idea.
Oh, you had another tape recording going?
I had an audio, strictly audio, going over here.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I'll come by and check it. But it was blank, the screen was blank.
I heard it drop, but I didn't know what it was. I looked over there.
It had fallen at some point.
I heard it. And,
Oh, did you?
yeah, but I didn't know what it was at the time. It wasn't that long ago, really. So
Oh, good.
I don't know if we
Well,
missed too much.
So we don't have any audio?
I'm not sure what's in
well.
there. But,
We'll come back. No, I'm kidding. Because this is fun. I mean, it's interesting.
So now, have you thought of anything at all? It's always fun to hear anecdotes. Oh, sorry. And you did have some wonderful anecdotes, but I'm wondering if you think of any other stories, fun stories.
I don't
Maybe
know.
something that happened while you were picking up the mail with Knoxville Parish, or
Not really. It's a pretty quiet ride. But, can you think of any?
You used to mention Morgans. Are mainly Morgan horses that you
Yes.
enjoyed?
Yes.
Because there's that wonderful Morgan farm you go by on Brook Road,
Oh, yes.
and you see the Morgans out there. They're beautiful horses.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And the first one, well, my first one was a small horse, really, was a hackney. And then, I guess it was after Mother bought the place, she said, well, moving up there, you should have a mortgage. And so she thought it was very good practice for me to write letters.
To ride what?
Letters.
What does that mean?
Writing letters to different.
Oh, riding. Oh, I heard riding. I'm thinking that.
And one of the places was the University of Connecticut, and they had a breeding program. And, well, to make a long story short, we eventually bought this 3-year-old mare from them, and she was a beautiful, beautiful mare. And I used to show her and enjoyed her all her life. And,
She was a lucky horse coming up here,
So,
too. So did you have many horses in the stable? I haven't seen the stable, so I don't know.
no, well,
No,
the stable has 10 stalls.
10 stalls.
And,
That was Barb, she's on her way.
And
Brownsville, she's heading
well, I
there now.
just figured out one night when I wasn't sleeping that I found that I had owned around 60 horses in my life.
Wow,
Horses and ponies, and we never sold one. So,
we love them,
yeah,
yeah.
and
It's a lot of graves.
Yeah, but 60 horses, that's wonderful, really, when you think about it.
and of different breeds and dispositions.
Now, you must have traded them or sold them at,
No,
nothing-
she said
never.
they kept them
Oh
all.
my goodness.
That was the great thing. Never
Six.
sold one.
60 graves on the property.
Oh my.
Yeah,
It's a lot of holes.
well, I love looking at the horses on the stone farm, some of those big working
Yes,
horses.
those big ones, and
They're wonderful.
That was actually our vet who just called, and we're meeting her over at Ginger's farm now.
Routine stuff.
Oh,
So we're out of here, but you ladies keep at it.
Thank you, and I'm sorry we didn't get to you, but maybe we'll
I
try,
don't-
come back to you.
I don't do interviews.
Okay,
Get you alone, you would. I know I
Good
could.
stories there.
oh dear.
thank you
Thanks a
so
lot.
much for the coffee,
Oh,
too.
there's plenty left. Any want more?
Well, I'm gonna get some in a minute. Don't wanna wear your mom out here.
So, if there's nothing else, or ladies, did you have anything else?
At the moment, no, I'm good. I don't wanna wear her out, but this was really great.
Something really interesting for you, but
No, you did.
we
Would you like to see yourself on?
no.